G'day guys, Tellers20 here and welcome back to Marble Mountain. Last episode we put in all these mountains that you see on the other side of the bay. This was one of my most favorite builds and probably my favorite mountains I've created in City Skylines full stop. So if you haven't seen that episode yet, you should go and check it out. In today's episode, we're going to be putting in the groundwork for the city that I want opposite the capital of Marble Mountain, Montana. We're going to figure out what the layout of the city is going to look over here, and that step honestly takes such a long time to do. This episode's a little bit shorter than my usual episodes, but honestly this probably took the same amount of time, if not longer, because I had to figure out how I'm going to be planning the city. You know, it's really important to put in that groundwork in first, figure out your roads, figure out the infrastructure, and then build the city afterwards. And then you generally have a much better looking city in the long run. So yeah, a bit of work went into figuring out the general road layout for this. And in terms of the type of city we're going to be going for, so you guys have been leaving some really great suggestions and I really appreciate everyone who got in touch. We're going to be building a city based on Oakland, which is basically the city that is opposite San Francisco. And I think that this makes the most amount of sense because, you know, Montana is somewhat loosely based, or actually I guess Marble Mountain is somewhat loosely based off California and San Francisco, that it would make sense for the other city on the other side to be, you know, kind of like Oakland. But I did also want to have a little bit more of its own style going on, or at least take inspiration from other parts of California and other cities that I also really like. So we'll also be taking some inspiration from Hollywood. So I think it'd be really cool to get that, you know, that famous glamorous lifestyle type of vibe going on over here, and also like including a lot of those like really huge big old mansions that sit up on the hillsides around Hollywood. I think it'd be really cool to have a lot of houses that sit up around here, and then also down in the heart of the actual city of this place to have a little bit more low commercial but some, you know, real cemented in culture that, you know, feels like it's a real unique type of atmosphere. And I would like to be going for a bit of a Hollywood type of vibe. I went to Hollywood about 10 years ago, loved the place, thought it was super interesting, and it'd be really cool to try and capture that within this area too. But also taking inspiration from Oakland. I really like the style of architecture in the downtown in Oakland, so I want to try and find something similar. And yeah, but also on top of all that, so just, you know, keep those two cities in your mind. But then on the outer skirts of the city, heading up towards the desert, I would like that area to be a little bit more like San Diego. So we're taking a bit of inspiration from the outskirts of San Diego for the outskirts of this city, and maybe even like a little bit around where the bay is. But, you know, just taking little bits of ideas from different places. So that is the vibe I'm going for. I know a lot of you guys are like, dude, you can't just splice 3 cities together and hope you're going to create your own thing. Well, you know, let's just see what happens, all right? Not hugely experienced with American cities, only through Google Earth and like a couple of times I've been there. So, you know, I totally understand if that's not going to be possible, but I think it's always interesting when you take, you know, different ideas from different cities. So for instance, Montana is, you know, that was me splicing in a whole bunch of different cities from California, and I don't think it looks like any one particular city. You know, even though, you know, some people say, oh, this is so San Francisco, or this is so LA. But if you look at it, it looks nothing like any of those cities. So I just think that we need to take inspiration from multiple different places, and especially an Australian looking at American cities, trying to take ideas for what, you know, what the cities are really like in real life. You know, you can come up with some pretty unique sort of ideas. So yeah. Too bad, that's what we're doing. But yeah, that is also a lot based on what you guys have been suggesting. So thank you guys so much for all the suggestions. We still have no name for this area, so I would really love a name for this city. There has already been some name suggestions, but please let me know again so I don't forget. So be checking out these comments to figure out what sort of name we're going to be adding for this city. Yeah, and I can't wait to actually put a name to it. But in the meantime, I've just been working on the bridges that span between this city and Montana, and I've just been putting a little bit of extra detail on them, mostly on the pillars, just trying to figure out how I want the pillars to look, and yeah, just moving them around and adding these like footers in the water, I think really adds to the realism and just changes so much. Yeah, so I think that was definitely something I wish I did much earlier, because I think it just totally adds to the realism around here. And I am also working on the train line that snakes its way across that main bridge of Montana. And hey, I need your ideas again, because I'm super stuck with what to do with this train line that goes over the Commodore Bridge. And basically, we've got this light rail line. This is the yellow line that originally was going to go towards the international airport, which I was going to build over this side. But now that we've changed where that international airport is going to sit, that's still sort of plans for the light rail to go over this body of water when it was a river, but now it's this big bay. I know it doesn't look that big, but I want you to imagine this to be like a really massive bay, and it's crossing over to this other city. And now I'm thinking that a light rail doesn't really make a huge amount of sense going over a huge body of water like this, especially to only be making really like 3 stops, I guess, at this city, and then, you know, moving and then basically terminating and then going back over to Montana. So I don't really know if I can justify going over the bay to make that stop. I feel like that sort of infrastructure would have cost a fortune, and I don't know how much it's really adding to the infrastructure for transport. So I'm not really sure if I should keep it or not. It looks really cool, so I think it'd be really cool to like just keep it solely based on the fact that it looks awesome. I'm totally fine with that, but I really don't think it's that realistic anymore. Unless we end up converting that train line or that light rail into a train line and then making it instead part of like the infrastructure for the rail line. So basically connecting it up to that rail that we dragged out last episode, but didn't really know where else it was going to go. So that way it's that train line is more connecting up the greater region of Marble Mountain, whereas the Montana light rail network is connecting up Montana. But I don't really know, because that would be a bit of extra work for me to basically delete all that train line, all that light rail, and then put in that train line. So I don't know, guys. If you would be like, and I'm asking a lot from you guys, but if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments section. If you want to go the next step, like maybe take a screenshot of one of the screens or one of the images from the live play, so you can maybe draw a couple of lines and figure out where it's going to go, because I don't really know. And just to let you know as well that this isn't a huge amount of space that we've got over here. So it might feel like we're going to build a massive city, but there's going to be a lot of false perspective, and it's going to feel more like a big city, but in reality, there's not a huge amount of space over this side. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Whatever we do over here, we need to be thinking, okay, this isn't like a massive city. This isn't a huge amount of space. How the hell are we going to make this feel like a proper city over here rather than just a small town? Because really, this is pretty much, I mean, at least the heart of this place is going to be the size of Copper Falls. And then it's going to expand out, you know, a fair amount, but at the same time, I don't really want to expand out hugely, because then we, you know, go out into areas that I want to leave for like vineyards and agriculture and city outskirts and those little cool pockets of nature that I want hidden around, you know, in different places. So, you know, we're going to be kind of careful with how we expand out and, you know, try and make this look much bigger than it really is. So, yeah, let me know. Even take a screenshot of this, because that might help you out. And then we'll work on that in the next episode. So don't get too attached to what it looks like. At this stage, the infrastructure for the rail might change. Well, actually, it will change for sure. So basically, God, I feel like I've spoken about everything that I'm not doing on screen. So apologies. I will talk more about this in the live play. But basically, I put in a little bit of industry over this side. I wanted to put a waste management facility because we were having a bit of a rubbish situation, and I thought that this would be a pretty cool spot for it over here. So I decided to put it over this side. Over this area will be a bit of industry amongst other things, so I thought that that would work pretty well. Don't plan to do a huge amount of other stuff on this particular headland, except for parks and maybe like a little bit of other industry, but not like huge amounts. I like to keep most of the nature intact around here. And then I have also put in a toll booth so that we can start tolling people as they make their journey across, and a bit of the roads as well. So there is a highway that goes across the bay and would be more for like your, you know, fast routes over to, you know, either side of the cities. Whereas I guess if you're taking the other bridge, the Commodore Barry Bridge, but again, we need to get a better name for that. That bridge is only partially a freeway. So you're mostly going along roads that are, you know, kind of disjointed, and they'll be, you know, met with intersections. It's going to be much slower, but you do get more of a direct route. So, you know, you got to sort of choose your journey. The reason why I did that is because, again, we're limited for space. So I didn't want to have two big highways coming across here. And I also figured that the bridge probably would have been here. Actually, no, I take that back. Sorry, the cities would have been established over here, and then they would have built the bridge. So the Commodore Barry Bridge would probably be the older bridge, whereas the highway would have been obviously a newer development, and the highway sort of takes a different route, so it doesn't go all the way through the heart of the city. It more of a diverts traffic from the city, whereas the road that connects up to the city takes the route of the Commodore Barry Bridge. I wanted to show those two different types, and it also saves on space, because otherwise, yeah, we'd have two massive highways coming through here, and then we definitely wouldn't have any room for an actual city. So now I'm just putting down some roads, and don't get too attached to them. I really just wanted to see what type of roads I can place down here and whether or not we're going to have enough room. Alright, that is it for the time lapse. Let's get into the live play, and I can give you a little bit more detail on the things that I want to do in the next couple of episodes. Alright dudes, here is where I want the new city to sit, and as you can see, it is much smaller than Montana. So we've got a lot to fit into, not a very big area, and I do want this to feel like a city over here. I don't want it to feel like a small town or anything like that, so we're gonna have to do some real tricky things to get that vibe going in a pretty small area. Before I talk a bit about that, I mean, check out these bridges, guys. I mean, just playing around with those nodes and getting those pillars in the right spot really just adds so much to that. You can see some sneaky power lines sitting over here. Just ignore them, alright? I'm just trying to get some power over there. But, I mean, I'm really loving these bridges. Yeah, loving these bridges. So, as we cross the bridge, we're going to get over to the city. And like I mentioned in the time lapse, I want this to feel very much like a splash of Hollywood and a splash of Oakland. And I'm sure you guys know Hollywood pretty well, but those of you who aren't familiar with Oakland, is a city that lives on the other side of San Francisco. And, you know, it's a pretty cool looking place. I'm definitely going to be taking inspiration from it. And, I mean, look how big it is. It's big, guys. So, I don't know how we're going to fit the vibe of this into that tiny little area. It's going to be tricky, but I think it's going to be well worth it. So, yeah, it's going to feel a bit like Hollywood over there, but it's also going to feel a little bit like this. So, we're going to be going for similar types of architecture. So, I'm going to have to go into the workshop and grab some stuff that's sort of similar. And, like, maybe stick one of these little lakes in. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. So we could do something like that. And on top of that, I want there to be a bit of industry over here. So, you know, we've got a bit of water like around here and a bit of space where I would like there to be a bit of industry sitting around here. There's this really cool rail line and industry interaction that I really like over here. So, you know, I know this isn't really industry over here, but, you know, you sort of get that vibe. In these big parking lots and stuff, and lots of open space, which I think would be really cool in that spot. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be trying to go for. We won't put a massive harbour in, of course, because we've already got, you know, a big harbour. I mean, a big port. So we're not going to stick one of them in, considering we've got one on the other side. So, you know, a bit of industry around here, and then, like, once you get out of the industrial area, this is going to be the heart of the city, and my god, we don't have much space. Looking at it right now, we're going to have to expand for sure. And then we've got these wiggly old roads snaking up here. So this is going to be where Hollywood's going to be vibing over here. And I'm not going to show you Hollywood because I've already referenced it about 10,000 times. But when you get over this side, I've got something else in mind for that. So I'm thinking that it would be really cool to take some inspiration from this little headland over here. Particularly this island. Do you call it an island? I feel like this was once not connected, so let's call this an island. But check out these properties over here. I mean, they're just these guys are just having the best life. You know, some great views of the Golden Gate Bridge over there, and you got San Fran behind me. So yeah, this would be pretty cool to do something like that. So that little headland that we're going to end up creating is going to be just a pretty nice looking place with some big old mansions and some marinas and just like a tiny little community, which I think would be really cool. So that's what I'm vibing for over there. We've got to stick that island in at some point, don't we? Yeah, we'll do that. And then for the bay area, so where the land meets the water, I'm thinking something like this. Just because we don't really have anything like this in Marble Mountain at this stage, and I just like these cool shapes are something that I want to try and work with. Of course, we're probably going to be able to squeeze in like 1 or 2, but it would be pretty cool. So that's the idea. A bit of industry, a bit of city, a bit of Hollywood. What are you thinking? Before you go, hey, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I got a question to ask you guys. What the hell am I going to do with this light rail over here? I don't know where to put it. At the moment, it is coming across the bridge, follows the highway, and then comes into the heart of the city, which I think is like, it's fine. Like, I don't mind it. But we have a couple of options. It could be snaking around this area. It could come through the middle over here. Could completely come up here. Like, I don't know. Like, can you just take a little screenshot for me, please? Cool, you got it? Draw some lines on here, guys. I don't know what to do. I'm really stuck. Like, for starters, I can't really justify the light rail coming over here in the first place, considering we've got such a great bridge leading all the way into the heart of the city. But you know what? I still want light rail over here. I think it's fun. Or do we convert this light rail and do we turn it into a just regular rail with a train station? And that way the rail can go all through here and then come through this town and then connect up to this. So we could just have regular old rail. Or do we continue the light rail? Like, I don't know, guys. I'm so stuck. So please let me know. I'm sure I mentioned this in the time lapse, but I'm so stuck with ideas. So that's gonna be the first thing that I need help with, and then we'll get the city built, and it's gonna be epic, and I can't wait. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I am so buzzing for the next couple of episodes, and I'm just keen to dive in and start building, but I do need your advice before I do. So please let me know so I can start getting those ideas in and then start building. I want to say a big thank you to some of my patrons like Vivid Swing, Susan Rowland, and Amaze. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!